Hi, this is Michelle Frost from Content Mojo. This is just a quick video to give you a little bit of background about why it's important that you create blogs to put on your website somewhere, either on your blog section of your website or maybe in a news section, whatever you want to call it. But a blog is just like an article with useful information that can be shared around the web, and it's a great way for Google to be able to work out exactly what your expertise is and who they should be sending to your blog or to your website. So in October, as you probably know, we're about to do a challenge, a 2-week challenge. And in the first week, it's going to be all about writing this blog, and it's going to be an epic piece of content. Now, this challenge that we're doing could work if we chose different things apart from just writing a lot of text, but as this is the basis of how Google finds you based on things that you put in a blog, I thought it would be best to start with creating a blog rather than doing, say, a video or some sort of image that you put up on a blog post, or maybe an audio or a podcast or something. But those things will come into it when we discuss what you're going to do in the second week. But for the first week, and just to get the bare bones of best practice down when it comes to creating content on the web, content that is useful, that is, I thought we'd start with the blog. Now, what is the best practice when it comes to a blog? And here we are on the Content Mojo website. If we click over to blog, and it loads up. So a blog generally has things like the author's name, it has the date. Again, those things don't have to be there, especially if you've got evergreen content, or content that is evergreen, as in it's going to be just as relevant whether somebody reads it or watches it now, or if they read and watch it, say, in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. It's evergreen, so it's something that can continue in the future to give to you. And if in your industry evergreen content is something that will work, it's actually very valuable, because it means that you can create it once and then you can keep marketing it out there in order to get more people to come along to your website. So evergreen content is a pretty cool thing. However, it doesn't have to be evergreen, and even if it is evergreen content, doesn't mean you just don't need to have the date there. I mean, you don't have to have the date there or not have it. It's entirely up to you and your particular industry. What I wanted to point out when it comes to the blog is things like these are the categories. So these will be usually based around keywords, and I'm going to do a whole video just to help you work out what kind of blog you're going to write, especially for this epic piece of content we'll write in week 1. But the keywords will actually tell you what people are looking for in Google, what's relevant to your audience. So I will show you how to find that out. I'm going to do a little video for you on that. But it's important that you actually use them as categories in your blog when you then paste your blog up. And those categories can also become a part of the sidebar here, and it will depend on what your platform you're using. I happen to be using WordPress, but most blogs are sort of laid out a bit like this. The other thing I wanted to draw your attention before I press on the actual blog link here, actually there's 2 things. One of them is this here, which is like a call to action. So I'm actually asking people to give me their name and email address in return for them receiving a daily email which will contain some useful information for them, or a little video. So it doesn't really matter what you put there, as long as it's something that your particular visitors, your particular clients, your potential customers are actually going to be interested in. And I would suggest that you make it some really good content, something that's going to really say, how amazing you are in your particular product or service, so that and that you're giving them your best. Because if you're giving them your best and it's free, then what are they going to get when they actually pay you? So go out of your way to make something that works here. And again, we can talk about that at a later date. But having some kind of call to action on your website near your blog post is a brilliant idea, because you're not necessarily going to be creating a call to action inside your actual blog post, depending what it's about. But this gives you the ability to still have people who land on your blog, get them to do something. Not just read your content and think you're amazing, but also to give you their name and email address, so that in the future you can be sending them marketing messages and other good content as well, for that matter. So that's important, that you have some kind of call to action that's readily available to people who visit your website. Now, the other thing is an image. So having an image that will be easily, that will pop a bit, if you like, that people will go, oh, that's kind of bright and it catches my attention. An image is quite important. It's obviously important over in social media, which again we'll talk about, and I will create, I'm going to do a whole little tutorial just to show you one of the image editors that I use at the moment that's free and online that you can have a play with and create some really good images. The other thing is when you start to share the blog post that you do or the article on your website, the image will come along with it. So if you create a fantastic image and you put it on your blog, you're not going to have to be recreating more and more images to share here and there and left and right. Sometimes you may want to, but you won't have to. So depending on where you're going to share it, you won't, you can just use the image that you put up on the blog. So I've clicked on it and I've come in here. Now, the only way to make this better in many ways would be to actually have that sign up form actually here in the sidebar, which I don't have, and if I don't even have it in the footer. So that would be a way to make this a better blog post. Now, this is a video, so it is slightly different. However, even though it's a video, that doesn't get me off what I'm about to suggest when it comes to best practice for blogs. So these days, if your whole purpose of creating your blog post or your article is to get some attention from Google, i.e. get some loving from when people go and do some search in Google and you come up in the organic search results, then you need to be writing really long blog posts, okay? When I say really long, I mean 1,500 to 2,500 blog posts, because in order to do that, you must have done a lot of research into that particular topic. And when you do that, Google actually recognizes that you indeed are an expert in this topic. So it is well worth spending a few days, which is what we're going to do in that first week of October, to research and really think out creating a blog post that's going to be useful for your potential customers and clients. Not only that, but Google will think you are awesome and you're more likely to come up higher in those organic searches when people go searching for you. Now again, we'll look at different headings and we'll look at different ways you can make your blog post possibly get up higher in those search results based on that. But the bare bones and the best practice at the moment for writing blog posts is that you write very long blog posts, because just not a lot of fluff either. It needs to be well researched and stuff that people, if you want people to read it, so things that people actually want to know about. The other thing you'll need to think a little bit about is the actual headings. So you can just Google heading analyzer and you'll get a whole bunch of them. This here over at coschedule.com is one of them. And you literally can put your heading in here. Let's say we wanted to say best tips for showing your dog in summer. I don't know. Anyway, you click analyze and it goes away and it looks at that, and based on a whole lot of parameters it will give you a score, and then when you come down it'll actually give you some things that how you could change it. All right, so that's worth having a play with. There are lots and lots of heading analyzers that you could use. There are even some where you can put in 4 or 5 things like your keywords or your key phrases, and it'll pop back and give you a whole bunch of heading ideas that you might like to use based on those keywords. So that's going to be very important when it comes to creating our content, but not something you have to super worry about now, but it is something I'd like you to start thinking about when we've only got 8 days to go. Maybe by the time you read this, we'll have even less, or watch this. So start thinking a little bit about, being able to optimize your headings and things like that. When it comes to actually what we write, well, that will depend on your audience completely. We'll need to find out what it is that they want to know. What do they need to know? What are their pain points at the moment? And we will go through a bunch of ways for you to research that, to find out what at this moment in time your audience is actually having trouble with, what kind of questions they're asking online, and how your knowledge and a little bit of research, you can come up with at least 1,500 word blog in order to answer those questions. And don't worry, you will be able to. The other thing I just wanted to touch on a little bit is if you can think just a little bit about how you write, because a lot of people, they really find this a difficult process, because writing isn't necessarily a natural skill for everybody. But online, if you can just do it at least a little bit better than the person next to you, hopefully it's not a Pulitzer Prize winning author, then you're going to be a really long way ahead. Not only that, when you're writing, you should really just try to write as if you're speaking, because when people read it, that's how it'll come across. It'll come across as friendly. Your personality will be able to be seen, and that will make you more likable. And people will then start to know, like, and trust you more, from even if they've never had anything to do with you or your content before or your business. So thinking a little bit about how you might be able to write, especially write 1,500 words, you may find this very tough, and we can try and brainstorm some different ways to get over that. Some of the things we can do is come up with sort of a process to just write the introduction, and then in the middle of our blog post it could be all about story and about using case studies and examples for to prove your point. It could be where you say you do some research and you find some numbers to back up whatever your opinion is in this particular article. And in saying that, your opinion itself is very important. Whatever you do in your blog post on the 1st of October, try not to make it a wishy-washy blog post that doesn't really have, don't be a fence sitter, because, why does anybody want to read a very balanced, equal argument this way or that way? They want to know what you think, and they want to know why you think that. They want to know why you think that this other person is wrong. They actually, it doesn't have to be controversial, but they want to know what you think. And that in itself will pull forward a bit of your personality when you're writing it. So think a little bit about that. And then at the end, if you can tie it all together in your conclusion with some sort of, summarizing of all of the points that you've made, and then perhaps provide a solution to whatever this pain point is that they've suffered from, that you've pulled together, which is the purpose of writing this particular blog post or article. That can be sort of the conclusion. And again, we might have a little live video on that when we go live on the 1st of October. We might talk a little bit about that. The whole idea with the challenge is we have lots of brainstorming and bouncing around and lots of questions and answers, because I'm actually not perfect at this, and it's still something that I'm practicing, but it is something that we all need to keep having a go at. And well, that's the whole point of a challenge. So I'm going to be trying to write along with you, and I will also write at least 1,500 words from the 1st of October to try and answer some questions that people in my potential customers and clients are asking at the moment, where they're having issues. So hopefully this has given you just a little bit of a background about what we're going to be doing in the 1st of October, and got you thinking just a little bit about blogs and best practice and things like that. So if you don't currently have a blog, you can go somewhere like Blogger and create one, or wordpress.com and create one. Very simple process to do that. So if you just want to follow along and just start creating some blogs with us to get started, then you're more than welcome to do that. All right, let me know if you have any questions, because the more questions, the better I'm going to be at helping you get to that next stage in your business. All right, take care, and I'll see you very soon.